All right, so in interest of time and to go ahead and help us get started, we're going to go ahead and start this session, which is recording. And my name is Morgan, and this is called Know Before You Go, Updates to Civic Literacy Knowledge. Just some things you need to know in case you have questions about changes that have happened in some recent voting expectations and requirements. Just to keep in mind as we get started, this is a nonpartisan discussion. Questions are going to be related to important updates to voting requirements in North Carolina. It's strictly an educational session, and it doesn't serve and is not intended to serve as a promotion of any agenda or candidate or party. It is simply educational. Our presenter today is Claire Jones, who is the election director from Harnett County Board of Elections. And the chat is open if you would like to drop in some questions there. And we'll just get started with some questions I thought of. And then, Claire, if you think of anything that you want to add or offer that we didn't cover, feel free at any time.
Good.
So the first question is, what are the most critical changes that voters should know about before heading to their polling stations or mailing in their ballots this year?
The biggest change that has come, and some people may already be aware of it, is the fact that photo ID will now be required for all voters. So everybody will be asked to show photo ID. There are going to be provisions that allow you to vote should you not have it, but that would be the most important thing, I think, to know before you go out there so that you are prepared to show that ID, or if you don't have one, to take those extra steps to make sure your ballot does still count.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think that was what I was going to guess was the most critical change, but I appreciate you identifying that. So in light of that, what counts as an appropriate photo ID? And then kind of some clarifying questions. How can you get one? How can the Board of Elections help with that? And then what should people bring with them to get that photo ID from the Board of Elections?
Good question. There's actually a list of the state board website. There's over 100 different kinds of photo IDs that are valid photo IDs. But some of the common ones will be a North Carolina driver's license or an NC identification card, which you do get through the DMV, passport, and veteran military IDs. But also, the Board of Elections does create photo IDs for registered voters. There are some expiration dates with some of these different IDs. So the state board has on their website a really good flyer on common IDs, the different types, and then the different expiration dates that are for most of them. For example, like your driver's license can be expired for up to a year. However, like a military veteran ID doesn't have to have the expiration date requirement. So it's really good to be prepared before you go, know what kind of ID you have, verify the expiration dates, just so that you know when you go there won't be any question about what you have.
Awesome. Thank you.
And yes, you can, to the second part of your question, I almost forgot to answer.
Oh, yeah.
So yes, you can get an ID from the Board of Elections office. All you have to do is come by our office. And then it's just a short form you fill out. We can, if you're already registered, we can print the photo ID, give it to you same day, which in just a few minutes. If you're not already registered, we would process that registration, take your photo, and then once the registration has cleared the verification process, we can mail that photo ID to you, or you can come pick it up. The only caveat to that is if you're registered in Harnett County, you can get your photo ID from Harnett County. But if you're registered in Lee County, you would need to go to the Lee County Board of Elections.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Thank you. So you kind of answered it, but I just want to make sure that we're on the same page about this. How long does that process take of obtaining a photo ID from the Board of Elections? So you said that if you are already registered, you can get it same day?
You can get it within, it takes maybe about 5 minutes at the longest to get that printed out. We have a little printer right there, and we can print it right on site. Again, if you're not already registered, the registration has to go through a verification process where we mail a voter card out, just to verify it doesn't come back undeliverable. But once that clears, then like I said, the ID can be mailed to you, or you can come pick it up from our office, whatever is more convenient.
Okay, awesome. And does that process, I mean, I don't imagine that there's any, you can't really give us a definitive timeline on that, but how long does it normally take? Is there like a,
Pretty much, if you let it go through the system, it could be up to 30 days for that verification process to clear in the system. But what we've been telling people is as soon as you get that card in the mail, let us know. Because
okay.
once you receive the card in the mail, then we know that the mailing address is good and the registration is therefore verified. So it
And then
can take about a week, couple weeks. Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you. And then this is just to kind of figure out a little bit more about what is the last day to register to vote?
So the last day to register to vote for this upcoming election is this Friday at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Friday is the 11th.
Okay.
So that is the last day. So if you are not already registered, please get those registrations in by the 11th. If you miss the deadline, you still have the ability to register and vote. That would take place during early voting only, not on election day. But you will have to bring extra documents with you. So if you miss the deadline, you can go to an early voting location. You would have to bring not just your photo ID, but a HAVA document that has your correct address on it. If, for example, you're using a driver's license and your driver's license has the correct address on it, that works for both.
Okay.
But if your driver's license does not have the correct address, you would need to bring another document such as a utility bill, bank statement, a credit card statement, something official. So, although it's possible to do that during early voting, it is definitely a lot easier to get that registration in before the deadline. And then all you have to do is show your ID and vote. But if you miss the deadline, there are still some procedures you have to still allow you to vote.
Awesome. And just to make sure that people kind of understand, let's say they are not registered to vote, they miss the deadline, they show up on, and they don't come to early voting, and they show up on the election day. What can they expect to hear?
So, if that were to be the case, what they would expect to hear is the election official would offer them to vote a provisional ballot. So, a provisional ballot still will allow you to vote a ballot. It's a little bit of a longer process. They will have to key it differently. It's just like a registration form. Your ballot will go into an envelope, not the machine, until that envelope can come back to our office after the election day. And then we can research to verify that, if this is in fact a new registration, did you attempt to register at DMV? So we have some more checks that we can do. And if we find that there was an attempt at a valid registration prior to, that provisional ballot may be counted. Again, that's something that the board will do the research on it, and then the board will actually vote to count or not count those ballots. And they do that at our provisional meeting, which is the second Thursday after the election. And that is a public meeting that people can come to.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. So in this case, that date would be November
14th.
14th. Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
so November
And
14th is when they have their provisional meeting, because from election day, November 5th until November 15th, we have time to audit and research. November 15th is when we have our canvass, which is when all the election results are official.
okay,
And that way we can check in any last minute absentee by mails. We can check those provisionals and get those added to the election totals as well.
perfect. Thank you. Just a couple more questions. Where can I find my registration status and/or a sample ballot?
So, of course, you can always call our office and we can give you that information. But the best way to look at that is through the state board site. You can go directly to their site, or we have a link from our site. I think you had a link as well, Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
You can click this link and put in your information, and it will tell you that you are registered. It'll tell you where you go to vote. It'll show you what your address is. So if you need to update that, you can be aware that needs to be updated beforehand. It shows you your sample ballot for the upcoming election, as well as your voter history for all past elections. So it's a good way to kind of audit your own registration. And then if you see anything that's incorrect, you can always reach out to us.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so people can, if they notice an error or they want to fix something, they can just call y'all, and then you can help them work through that process
Yeah.
of updating that. Oh,
Get them the information, get them the forms, forward them to whatever links they need to make it easier for them to correct that issue. This is also really good, especially for college students who may not remember if they're still registered at mom and dad's house or if they've
mm-hmm.
registered, at a new address, maybe where they go to college or may have graduated and moved somewhere else again. So
Right.
it's a good way to make sure that you're all up to date before you go to the polls because it'll save you a lot of time to make sure that it's all correct beforehand.
Yeah, beforehand. And that makes perfect sense. Thank you. Okay. That is pretty much covers all the questions that I could think of that people would absolutely need to know before they go. But what are some things that you can think of that you think folks should know this year?
ID again is probably one of the most popular ones, but I would definitely
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you're aware of your voting options.
Mm-hmm.
Absentee by mail is going on right now. A lot of college students do utilize absentee by mail because they may still be registered at their home address and going
Mm-hmm.
to college, maybe across the state or in another state.
Mm-hmm.
And you can now request those ballots online through the state board portal.
Mm-hmm.
And so wherever you are, that ballot can be mailed to you. But if you're not interested in doing absentee by mail or you are registered kind of where you are, early
Mm-hmm.
voting is also an option. So that starts October 17th and runs through November 2nd. In Harnett County, we have 4 locations, and you can see that on our website. But if you are registered in Lee County or another county, you would need to verify their locations and hours as well, because they may be a little bit different from county to county.
So you actually got me thinking about another thing that I think, especially if college students are, voting for the first time or checking their registration status, their student ID cards are not considered like that form of official proof for photo
Correct.
ID.
There are some universities that have received approval to use their IDs as photo ID. Unfortunately, however, Central Carolina Community College is not on that list.
Mm-hmm.
There's several things that the organizations have to be able to prove to the state that that their database is secure and that they have expiration dates. And there's a whole list of things they have to check off to be approved.
Mm-hmm.
So I know for Harnett County, Central Carolina is not, I don't think. So Campbell University, their student ID card was approved this past election, but it wasn't approved prior. So if you go to Campbell, then that student ID would work.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So better safe than sorry to just bring a driver's license or reach out to the state board or the board of elections and get that photo ID.
Yes, exactly. And again, that's the photo ID that we create is no charge. So it does
Okay,
not cost
perfect.
anything for that. Mm-hmm.
So it just takes 5 minutes if you're already registered and just walk on in, complete the paperwork, and then you get your ID.
Right there and then. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thank you. Can you think of anything else? I really appreciate the time that you have spent talking with us about these really important things.
I can't really think anything right now. But I will say that if there are ever any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We do not mind taking a phone call and answering any questions or concerns and making sure that when you do go to vote that you are prepared and you can get in and out as quickly and effortlessly as possible.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that so much, Claire. Since we do have a little bit of time, if y'all have questions, you're welcome to drop those into the chat. I'll give it about maybe 5 minutes or so to let people type into the meeting chat if they have questions. While you're doing that, I will say that we do have this civic literacy guide here, and that guide is basically covering the information that we talked about today, and we will put this recording on that guide so that people can watch this again. And these are just links that will take you to the links that we share today, whether that's the registration deadlines or the voter search. Okay, so it looks like I don't see any questions. So I'm going to say that we really appreciate all that you shared with us today, Claire, and we look forward to learning more about our democracy as we go.
I appreciate it. And again, if you have any questions, I'm the director in Harnett County, and if you need to talk to the director in Lee County, if that happens to be where you are, you certainly can reach out to that office as well.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.